Everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Under this video we are going to be solving logs involving the changing of bases. For example, let's say if you have the log of let's say we have the log of x base a, so you are going to let this the log of a of x base a be equal to, let's say, y. Then according to the properties of logs, this can go there and form the power or form the base, so it will be x is equal to a to the power of y, like that. Now let's say we want to introduce the log of b on both sides, so we can introduce something like this. So we have our x is equal to, so we can introduce the log of b, the log of our b. We know that let me write this properly. Log of b, log of a base b, like that. Then this power can go here, so we are going to have the log of our b, our x base b should be equal to y log of b a, like that. So now, to make y the subject of a formula, since we just introduced it, we are going to divide our log of our a base b over the log of a base b, like that. So this is our y should be equal to the log of our x base b over the log of our a base b, like that. So with that said, that means to say, with this equation, what we are going to get is we have changed the base. Instead it was base b here it was a, now it is b. Now there is a simple way of doing this. So if you have the log of it is like this. So if you want to introduce any base like b in this case, you can say the log of b, you begin with this one over, you're going to have the log of b, then the base, like that. So you can verify that this and this are exactly the same. So if that's the case, that is how we are going to be changing. So there will be no need for us to be deriving, but I just derived so that you are able to follow. So that means to say, if you have the log of 41 base 3, let's say if you want to introduce the log of 10, which is just the log of, if it's not showing, it means to say it's 10. So the log of 10, you begin with the last number over the base, which will be the log of 3, like that. So whichever you want. If you want, you can introduce the log of 5, which you are going to say the log of 5, like that. Then you are going to put your 41 over the log of 5 3, like that. So whichever case, that is how you are going to be converting. So now, with that said, let's begin by solving a question. Let's evaluate this before we can go to equations. Evaluate. So let's say we are told to evaluate this. So the bases are different. So let's express this in terms of 7. So what we are going to have is, we say the log of base 7 with the last number, like that, over, it will be the log of our 7 with the base, like that. Then we have times the log of 7, and 125 is the same as 5 to the power of 3. Why 5? Because we want it to match here. So what we have is the log of 7, and 49 is the same as 7 to the power of 2. We want it to match here. Then we have over, we have the log of 7 base 5, like that, or 5 base 7. Then this 3 will go here, so it will be 3 times the log of 5 base 7. So this is what we have. So this one and this one cancels. This comes here, so we are going to have 2 log of 7 base 7, then we have times 3 like that. If you have the log of the same thing, the base and this number is the same, that means to say this is equal to 1. So we are going to have 2 times 1 times 3. So that means to say the answer here is 6. So that is how we evaluate that. Let's move on to our next problem. So let's say we have this problem. So let's say we convert this to base 5 instead of x. So we are going to have, so that it matches up with this, so we are going to have 9, then where there is this, we are going to put the log of base 5, then the number outside, over, we introduce log of 5 with the number inside like that, then this should be equal to the log of base 5 of x like that. Then this is going to give us, we know that the log of 5 is equal to 1. So we are going to have 9 times 1 over, we have the log of 5, x base 5 should be equal to the log of base 5 of x. So we have 9 over the log of 5 of base 5 of x should be equal to the log of 5 of x like that. Then from here, all we have to do is multiply. 9 times 1 is 9, should be equal to log of, so we are multiplying this times this, it will be the log of x base 5, this times this, it will be squared like that. So what we are going to have is 9 is equal to, so we are going to let your y be equal to this value, which will be able to give us the log of x base 5, which will be 9 is equal to y squared. We are going to find our square root, so our y should be equal to plus or minus 3 like that. So with that said, it means that y is equal to 3 or y is equal to negative 3. We know that what we made was our log of 5 of x is equal to, we have y, so we can say when y is equal to 3, that means to say we are going to get, where there is y we put 3, we are going to have the log of 5 of x should be equal to 3 like that. So to find the value of x, this will go this side, it will be x is equal to, it will become the base 5 to the power 3, which will be x is equal to 125. The other thing is, for this other one, when when x is equal to negative 3, we know that the log of x base 5 should be equal to y. So we are going to have, not when x, but when y is equal to negative 3. So we are going to have the log of 5 of x is equal to negative 3. This 5 goes this side, it will be x is equal to 5 to the power negative 3, which will be x should be equal to 1 over 5 to the power 3. So x is equal to 1 over 5 to the power 3 is 125 like that. So that is our answer to that problem. So it's either x is equal to 125 or x is equal to 1 over 125. Let's look at our next question. So we have this one, given that the 2 log of x base y, so we have 2 log of x base y plus 2 log of y base x should be equal to 5 like that. So we are required to show that the log of x base y is either 2 or half. So as we can see, they want us to show that the log of x base y, that means to say whichever is not like this, we need to convert it to that form. So we are going to convert this one. Why this one? Because we want it to look like this. So we have the 2 log of x base y, then we have our plus. So this one is the same as 2. Then we are going to have our log of. So to make, we want y to be here, so we are introducing log base y. Then we have the outside is y over, we have the log of y, the inside is x. So we have, this should be equal to 5 like that. Then we are going to just say 2, we have the log of y, x base y, plus we have this and this is 1, so we are going to have 2 times 1 over the log of, we have our x base of y should be equal to, we have a 5 like that. So this is the same as having 2 log of x base y, plus we have 2 times 1 is 2 over, we have the log of our base y of x should be equal to 5. Then we are going to find this as our common denominator, which will be equal to, we have our log of our x base y, this divided by this is going to give us this divided by this is this one, times this, it will be 2 log this, and this is, you're multiplying them, so they are going to take something like this squared. Then we have plus 2, so this divided by this is 1 times 2 is 2, should be equal to 5 like that, over 1. Then we are going to multiply, so 1 doesn't change anything, so here we are going to have 2 times the log of base y squared, plus we have our 2, then this times this is going to give us 5 log of x base y like that. So this is what we have for that one. Then from here we are going to since y and x are already there, let's let it be equal to, let the log of y x base y be equal to p. So we are going to replace and set 2 where there is this, we are going to put p, but we have a squared plus 2 should be equal to 5. Then the log of y base x, this is going to give us a p like that. Then this is going to come this side, so we have our 2p squared minus our 5p plus our 2 should be equal to 0 like that. So with that said, all we have to do is find the product, sum and factor. So product, which is equal to AC, we are multiplying 2 times 2, it is going to give us 4. Our sum will be equal to b. In this case, this is our b, which will be equal to -5. Our factors are the numbers which when we add them, they are going to give us -4, but when we multiply them, they are going to give us a product. So we are going to have 2p now, 2p squared minus, we have our 4p minus our p, then we have plus our 2 should be equal to 0. So factorizing in parts, 2 is common and p is common, so we have our p minus 2 minus, we have our -1, open brackets, we have p minus 2 like that. If we eliminate the -1, should be equal to 0. So we have our p minus 2 and our 2p minus 1, which is equal to 0. So it says that p minus 2 is equal to 0, or 2p minus 1 is equal to 0. So taking it this side, it will be p is equal to 2, or we have our, this one, it is going to be 2p, the one goes that side, it will be +1 over 2 over 2. We have our p should be equal to 1 over our 2 like that. So that those are our values of p. But remember we said that the log of our x base y is the one that is equal to p. Therefore, according to the question, which says that, show that, okay, so we are required to show that. This means that the log of p, the log of y of x is equal to, we have p is equal to 2, so where there is p we put 2, or the log of y of x is equal to 1 over 2. So you can put from here, you can say hence shown. So for the other part, it says hence find all the values of x and y which also satisfy the satisfies the equation, simultaneous to the equation xy is equal to 27. So what we are going to do is, knowing this, let me lift it up. Knowing this, what we are going to do is this. So if we have this, what we are going to have is, we have our x, y should be equal to 27. So we are going to compare. So let's begin with this one. So this produces, so for the log of x base y should be equal to 2. This goes this side, it will be x is equal to y squared, like that. Then this other one, it will be there, it will be x is equal to, we have our y to the power 1 over 2. So we are solving simultaneously, so it's more like you split. So we have our xy should be equal to 27. X is equal to y squared. So we are going to put, where there is x, you are going to put y squared. So you're going to put it here. So it will be y squared times y should be equal to 27. So we have y to the power 3 is equal to 27. You find the cube root, which is going to give us y is equal to 3 there. So we introduce the cube root because it is y to the power 3. This and this will cancel. Cube root of 27 is 3. So that means to say y is equal to 3. Remember, we have we said our x is equal to y squared. So when y is equal to 3, our x will be equal to 3 to the power 2. In this case, where there is y, you put 3. So x is equal to 9. So that means to say we have x is equal to 9 and y is equal to 3, like that. Then for this other part, so we are finding all the values. We are going to have this one, when it goes there, it's like this. Then it is the other equation, which is the which we are solving simultaneously, is xy is equal to 27, like that. So what we are going to do is, we are going to say, so x is equal to y to the power half. So where there is x, we are going to put that. So y to the power half times y should be equal to 27. Half times, so we pick one base, add the powers. So we are going to have half plus 1 should be equal to 27, like that. So we are going to get y. Then we have half plus 1, it will be a 3 over a 2, like that, should be equal to 27, like that. So when you add half, if you add half plus 1, it will give you, common denominator is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1 times 1 is 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2 times 1 is 2, which will give us 3 over 2. That's why I wrote 3 over 2 there. Then all you have to do here is, let me create more space. Yeah, so what we are going to do is y to the power 3 over 2. We are going to introduce the multiplicative inverse, which will be a 2 over 3 on both sides. So 27 to the power 2 over 3, like that. this is going to give us y should be equal to, we are going to have y is equal to, we have, this is the same as the cube roots, so this 3 comes as the cube roots, then we are going to have power 2 like that. So y should be equal to the cube root of 27 is 3 like that. Then we have our squared, so y should be equal to 3 squared is 9. So that means to say our y value is equal to 9. The equation says x is equal to y to the power 1 over 2. That means to say our x is equal to, where there is y, we put 9 to the power half. So it will be x is equal to 9 to the power half is equal to, we have 3. So 9 to the power half is the same as the square root. Half is the same as square root of 9, which will give us x is equal to 3 like that. So that is how we are going to solve that problem. With that said, let's move on. Therefore, we can conclude that the values are, we have 9,3, remember, and our 3,9. It's more like they have interchanged like that. So these are all the possible values of x and y that satisfies that equation. Let's move on to our next question. Let's say we have this as our last question. We're going to get if xy is equal to 64 and the log of xy plus the log of y, x is equal to 5 over 2. Find, so here we have plus, find the values of x and y. So we are going to have, what do we have? So we are going to say the log of our xy plus the log of yx should be equal to, we have 5 over 2. So we are going to have, let's convert to the same base. So this is base y, so we should also have y here. So let's do that. So we are going to say the log of base y, the outside number, over the log of y, the inside number, plus we have the log of x base y should be equal to 5 over 2 like that. Log of the same base, so we have this, it is equal to 1. So we are going to have 1 over the log of x base y. Then we have plus the log of our x base y should be equal to, we have a 5 over 2 like that. So with that said, we are going now to multiply this through, let's find this one as our lowest common denominator, which will give us the log of base y of x. This divided by this is still this, times 1, it will be the log of this plus 1, this divided by this, it will give us this same thing, log of x base y, it will be this times the log of x base y, which will give us, if you multiply this same thing this times this, it will be the log of y of x like that. So we are multiplying, so it will be squared, should be equal to, we have our 5 over our 2 like that. So from there, what we are going to have is just a slight mistake. So the log of y of x divided by this is 1 times 1, it will give us 1 like that. So this is what's going on. So we are going to divide the log of y base x, we are dividing over this thing, which will give us the log of x base y like that. So that's why it's going to give us 1. So that is what is going on there. Then from there, what we are going to do is we are going to cross multiply. So crossing multiply, we are going to get this cross multiply. So 2 will multiply everything there. So we have 1 plus the log of our x base y. So we have this squared should be equal to 5 times the log of this. It is 5 log of our x of y like that. 2 times 1, it will give us 2, plus we have 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Then we have the log of our x base of y. Then we have squared should be equal to 5 times the log of x of y like that. So that is what we are going to get. Then when we get this, we are going to have our 2 plus 2, then the log of that. So from here, what we are going to do is we are going to let our log of y of x be equal to a number such as let's say which one, let's use p. So we are going to have 2 plus our 2, where there is this, we are going to have p, then we have squared should be equal to, we have 5 like that. Then where there is this, we are going to have our p like that. So we are going to just rearrange them properly. It will be 2p squared. This comes this side, it will be minus 5p plus our 2. So this is the normal order of a quadratic equation like that. So the product will be equal to AC, which will be equal to A is 2 times our C is 2, which will give us something like 4. Then we have our sum. In this case, our sum, two numbers, which when we add them, they are going to give us a negative 5, but when we multiply, they are going to give us positive 4. These are negative 4 and negative 1 like that. Then we have our factors, which are two numbers. When we have already written the factors, negative 4 and negative 1. Then the sum is just a b, which is equal to negative 5 in this case. So replacing these in the equation, it will be 2p squared minus, where there is 5p, we are going to say 4p minus p. Then we have 2 should be equal to 0, which will give us 2 is common, p is common. Then we have p is remaining. Then we have minus our 2 like that. Then we have minus 1 is also common. We are going to have p minus 2 should be equal to 0. We are going to have two brackets. We have p minus 2. Then we also have our 2p minus 1 like that should be equal to 0. Then that means to say p minus 2 is equal to 0, or 2p minus 1 is equal to 0, which is going to give us p is equal to 2, or we have our 2p should be equal to positive 1. We divide 2, our p is equal to 1 over 2, p is equal to 2. So with this, we haven't found our answer completely. Remember, this p was derived from where we were saying the log of x base p or x base y should be equal to p. So therefore, what we are going to say is that, so p is equal to 2. That means to say we are going to have the log of x base y should be equal to, where there is p, we are going to have 2 there. So this will go that other side. So we are going to have our x is equal to y to the power of 2. Remember, our xy is equal to 64. So where there is x, we are going to put y squared, which will give us, so we have, where there is x, we are going to put y squared times y should be equal to 64. Then you have our y to the power of 3. Y squared times y is y to the power 3 should be equal to 64. Then we are going to find the cube root. We are going to find the cube root, which will give us y should be equal to, we have a 4 like that. So that is how we are going to do that one. So we have y is equal to 4 like that. Then if y is equal to 4, we are going to say when y is equal to 4 for the equation which is saying xy is equal to 64, we are going to have, where there is y we put 4, so we have x times 4 should be equal to 64. we divide our 4, our x should be equal to, we are going to have 16. So 64 divided by 4 will give us a 16, like that. Then the other part of the equation is when we have p is equal to half, and we know that we have said that the log of x base y should be equal to, our p in this case is equal to half, like that. So this one will go that side, it will be x is equal to y to the power of 1 over 2. The equation is also saying xy is equal to 64. So we are going to get something like this. So where there is x, we have that value. So we are going to put, where there is x, we are going to say y to the power 1 over 2 times y should be equal to 64. We are going to pick one base, add the powers. So we have half plus 1 should be equal to 64. So half plus 1 will give us 2 common denominator. 2 divided by 2 is 1 times 1, that's 1, plus 2 divided by 1 is 2 times 1, that's 2. So we are going to have a 3 over 2. So we are going to say y to the power 3 over 2 should be equal to 64, like that. Let me move this a bit. So we are going to multiply the multiplicative inverse, which is a 2 here over 3, 2 over 3, like that. So what we are going to get is this goes, so y is equal to, so this is the same as the cube root of our 64. Then we have times, we have to the power 2, so y should be equal to, we have the cube root of 64 is we are going to have 4, then we have to the power 2, so y should be equal to 16. So we are going to say when y is equal to 16, when y is equal to 16, for the equation that is saying xy is equal to 64, we can replace, where there is y, we are going to put 16 should be equal to 64. We divide over 16 over 16, so we are going to get our x should be equal to, our x value is equal to 4. So you can see the minor difference between the two values in which they are interchanging. At first x was equal to 16, but here x is equal to 4, like that. For the other one, y is equal to 16, here y is equal to 4, like that. So the values are 16, 4 and a 4, 16. So that is how you solve those equations. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you would like, subscribe and share for more. See you in the next tutorial.